Hello to the next session of Drawing and Design and Architecture. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to draw trees. So let me share this screen right away with you. And we have such kind of, for example, picture as a reference, but what I'm going to do here is first going to explain you a little bit, say a few words about, general the trees, how to draw them. So basically, you have to understand that any kind of tree, yeah, even if you do a very simple form of the tree, which, as a child, as a children, we draw the trees approximately less or more like that, yeah. Okay, and um, even this kind of tree, if you want to kind of dimensionalize, what you would do, you will apply the core shadow, core light. What is the core shadow, core light? So if you, I have actually about shadows videos on YouTube, you can go there and review them about shadows. If you have an egg, for example, yeah, and you have the light coming from one side, so exactly where is the light coming the closer, as you see the surface of the egg is rounded, yeah. So the most actually light is coming to this place where the rounded surface is closer to the light. So this kind of situation will going to create kind of core of light here on the egg, except that the most important, much more light are going to be here, and after going to be less and less, and eventually going to be kind of in shading. The same going to happen on the other side. But along to this, what's going to happen when you have core of light is always accompanied by core of shadow. What it means that you're going to have on this part of the egg shadow, and the core of shadow, the most darker one, is going to be exactly aligned on the same line as the light is coming, yeah. So basically the core shadow going to be stronger here, and as the light goes there, it's going to be lighter, and the same happens over here, yeah. And the same happens also over here. So this kind of darkness is going to be kind of a little bit much more important in these areas, yeah, and a little bit kind of soft there, yeah, in touch with the white. And all this going to be in shadow, yeah, but in general going to be the most important going to be here. So if I would like to do this much more, for example, nicer, I would just kind of make this pencil a little bit larger. And in this case, look, what's going to happen. It's going to be something of this kind of line. Yeah. So let's say here we kind of get softer. And the darker part going to be somewhere there. Yeah. It's going to be kind of in this space. And of course, the edge is going to be soft. Yeah. And you're going to have everything here in shadow. Yeah. But the most important going to be over here. And the same as the light. So here you can even have a little bit kind of in shadow something. So in this kind of form, actually, this what I'm just explaining right now, it happens actually in any, if you want to dimensionalize any form, it's actually going to be always visible, yeah, this way. And that's what it makes the object become dimensionalized. So look, if I just kind of emphasize a little bit the lines kind of on the lower part, and gonna make the lines on the top a little bit lighter, you see, a little bit lighter. Let me just kind of correct the egg a little bit, as it would normally, if you would draw it that way, you would have kind of closer to the reality, yeah. So you'd have this kind of line on the top, the contours of this egg going to be very soft, yes. It's going to be kind of soft. It's not, you don't going to have very strong line here. On the lower part, however, you can have much more stronger light, yeah, over there, the contours, yeah. And normally in this projection, if the line is going this way of the light, so that is also going to indicate you how long is going to be the shadow, yeah, of the egg projected on the surface, okay. So Anyway, as I said, I have more about this in my videos on YouTube about shading. So if you need to write kind of recapitulate this stuff and so on, you just kind of go there and you can find all the informations. So just remember that the core shadow going to be much more intense over here, yeah, in these areas over there, yeah. And here going to kind of softly fade away. Why is going to kind of softly fade away? Because the egg is rounded, yeah. Whenever you have rounded surfaces, like for example, pipes, yeah, you want to draw pipes and you want to dimensionalize them, yeah. So let's say you draw kind of pipes. Let's say I have this kind of pipey kind of form, yeah, this way and this way, yeah. If you want to dimensionalize this, what you do, core shadow, yeah, dispersing, contour, and again here the light is penetrating this surface, but another core shadow going to be start to be creating over there, and you're going to have core shadow over here. And now as the pipe, if the pipe goes, let's say, straight down, so what's going to happen with this, just a second, with this kind of shadow, it's going to get again to the other side because the light is going to penetrate this surface. But here you're going to have shadow, here you're going to have shadow, and there you're going to have shadow, and after it fades, yeah. So there's transformation coming, for example, from this core shadow is kind of getting lighter here and is going kind of across the space, and it's going to go after much more dynamic, and again much more dynamic there, because that's what is happening. And these lines over there are going to be very kind of thin because they expose on light. So this kind of principles of brief principles of dimensionalizing the form, it actually we apply to the trees. So for example, this kind of tree, if I have, let's say, just triangular tree, I know that the tree normally, yeah, would be something around conic form, yeah, something like this, yeah. You're going to have conic form. You want to dimensionalize the tree, what you do, of course, you apply here core shadow, yeah. You can apply core shadow, yeah, darker a little bit here and there, and after it's going to kind of spread, and you're going to have this kind of thing here for the trees. Some architects, they use kind of simple trees. You put a trunk over there, yeah, you might have plenty of this kind of trees, yeah. But that's not only this, you can, all kind of trees we can have. You can have forms much more kind of, really, fantasies here and there, yeah. And you can put some kind of branches over there, for example, another branch over there. You can have some kind of, you see, branches here and there, yeah. And now if you want to make this tree kind of, which is very in architecture, sometimes you do simplifies the forms of the trees, not always gets very realistic. So normally what you're going to do, you're going to put some lines, because under the crown of the tree you have always shadow, yeah. So this part is in shadow. So after, just emphasize a little bit this, a little bit this, a little bit this, the trunks and the branches and so on, yeah. And if you have, you can also dimensionalize a little bit these forms. You see, with simple application of lines, what I am creating now, I am creating a form, yeah, which was kind of very simple, simplistic form. But if I add much more shadow, let's say over here, over there, you see, if I'm going to go with this kind of application of shading here and there, yeah, I'm going to get kind of dimensionality of the trees. And if, and the same, if I want the trunk to be dimensionalized, I'm going to do the same. So I can actually make even one branch here, and so on, yeah. And you can have it, the marginal dimension. You're going to do it also if you make the lines even darker on the lower part of the crown of the tree, and some which are in the shadow, yeah, a little bit here and there, yeah. And even this kind of approach is going to, right away, going to be much more the tree dimensionalized. So anyway, this kind of brief understanding of what you do basically when you want to dimensionalize the tree. Let's go now with show you a little bit different kind of branches and trees, how you would process. So for example, in Mediterranean area, you have a lot of cypresses, yeah? So you're gonna have kind of trees having this kind of, forms, yeah, over there, less or more. Yeah, I'm just kind of briefly gonna show you here, and after we're gonna draw a bit. So you have this kind of, form of the cypress, yeah? Okay, cypress there, Again, I'm going to go this way and this way, and you might have some kind of branches, a little bit here and there. And normally, and it's going to go to some kind of bushes. Let's say this kind of bushes over there, this kind of other stuff going, and so on. And you just kind of imitate the bushes less or more here and there, and so on. The tree itself, if you need to dimensionalize the tree, what are you going to do? Well, you do the same thing. You always consider from which direction the light you want it to hit the tree. It might be from the top. If it's from the top, what's going to happen? You're going to have this kind of crowns, in shadow, divisions, horizontal divisions of the cypress. Yeah, you're going to have this kind of, shading here and there. Yeah, because the light is perpendicularly hitting the trees from the top. Yeah, so you're going to have this kind of situation. Yeah, I'm going to show you a few situations there. And this entire trunk over there is going to be kind of in shadow. So after, of course, you're going to have some other, nuances here and there, because when the light is hitting from the top, you're going to have certain parts kind of much more darker, other a little bit less darker, and so on. There's many details you have to kind of, you can imitate very fast the tree, but it kind of, have to be a little bit, stronger, lighter. As you see this tree, you see it? What is happening? You have spots where darker, lighter, darker, lighter. The dimensionality of each branch of these leaves and the trees, that's how you compose the dimensionality, by adding darker and lighter parts. And you might have some kind of forms even of this kind of foliage there. Yeah, so you just kind of add a little bit the kind of foliage here and there. And of course, sometimes you might have a trunk visible, yeah, a little bit. Some branches, you also here might say some kind of, partially sometimes is visible, the trunk, okay, passing through this kind of, open kind of, spaces of the branches and so on. You might have, sometimes you can see some details here and there. Yeah, so basically what you would do, you would kind of do this kind of things. Of course, it's a lot of work. I don't going to kind of spend too much time on it, but after you have to kind of, add a little bit more here and there and so on, and the trunk going to be really dark under, yeah, and so on. And there's a lot of things yet to do it, but the general idea is that you're going to have always kind of around the crowns, the crowns, and they're going to be sections kind of around it, kind of growing sections, because the tree, any kind of tree, has a main trunk, yeah, over there, which gives the branches, and you have thinner branches here and there, thinner branches, larger branches. As it goes older, the trees, you have larger branches on the lower part and thinner on the top. So that's what's going to happen when, for example, you are going to, kind of give the impression of the trees. So we're going to go through all these branches, going to kind of crowns around, yeah, crowns around here and there, and here and there, and here and there, and so on. Now, the same cypress, yeah, I'm going to go completely different if the light is coming from one side, for example. So if it's from one side, let's just kind of copy less or more the same kind of, form, with something which would resemble this form. It's not the kind of, you have to be very perfectly, exact, but you have this kind of form. Let's say you have another kind of cypress, yeah, over there somewhere, on the slope of the mountains and so on, because they kind of in Mediterranean, you have kind of, all kind of mountains, and there's many kind of, cypresses going here and there, yeah, in Italy, Greece, and other countries, Spain, and so on. Cypresses are very, beautiful trees. So now the light is have from the left. What's going to happen then? Well, what's going to happen that you're going to have similar thing as this here, but it's going to be actually much more darker part you're going to have from the right side, yeah, which is actually in shadow, yeah. So we're going to have kind of this kind of situation going to happen. You're going to have this kind of, situation when you have a little bit the branches going to be going rather this way, yeah. So you're going to have a little bit much more light from the left than from it's not going to be kind of even around or something. No, it's going to be always from the left. It's going to be much more stronger, yeah. So if I want to elaborate a little bit and the kind of much more in details the tree, yeah, so I can put some kind of foliage here and so on, let's say is something visible, yeah, but it's very light. Of course, on the lower part over there, everything going to be kind of in shadow because it's the lower part and it is kind of less, enlightened with the light. But these parts over there, yeah, you're going to have actually much more darker, yeah, and also the kind of ranges of the branches also going to have this kind of similar things as I did in the first time, but it's going to be kind of much more, you see, on the lower parts, you can have much more shadow here, but the most you're going to have over there. So if you kind of imitate the trees and want to kind of do it, much more, drastically and much more kind of dimensionally, you will actually keep the shadow actually from one side, yeah, and a little bit spread sometimes to the left, more or less. It depends what you see. The best is of course observe the picture of the trees, and you will exactly, because when you look at the tree, you see exactly what is happening where, yeah. So this is the main kind of uh, objective of, if you want to kind of do the trees correctly, yeah. So we're going to kind of go around and a little bit kind of, you see, this darker part. Everything is from observation. If you analyze and observe very well what you want to draw, so you're going to kind of be very, close to reality over there. Of course, this is kind of trees which have a lot of foliage and they kind of dense trees. Yeah, so you don't see really the branches inside too much. Sometimes they appear, but not very much. It really is, everything is covered with the branches. Yeah. So in general, you're going to have this kind of, situation with the shading. Yeah. And here is going to be a little bit different. Yeah. So you're going to have kind of crowns, you see, kind of ranges. Yeah. This way and this way on the lower part and everything. So it's completely different, light dispersion on the foliage and on the form of the tree than here. Of course, at the end, you can actually, you can kind of go and, especially where is the kind of darker parts, you can kind of put it together. The branches, the same you can do here, yeah. But you can here actually almost constant line here. Here you would go a little bit on the lower parts only in order to dimensionalize this and so on. So if you have any kind of pine trees or something which have the forms actually in the Mediterranean, much more the crowns, much more kind of, you see, a little bit kind of, horizontally placed, yeah. Well, on California side, whatever, you have this kind of, trees where you have the branches coming like this, yeah, like that, like this. Yeah, you have after you kind of, see a little bit in the crowns, the branches are kind of really crooked and all kind of situations. So this kind of trees kind of have, the crown, actually the trunk is kind of very, very kind of curve, yeah. So the same in the trunk. If you look at the kind of trunk of the tree, yeah, and you have some kind of other, this kind of forms of the trees and that. So one thing, that this is certain part of this tree is also going to be what? It's going to be in shadow. So let's say this part you're going to have a little bit in shadow, yeah, a little bit in shadow, yeah, over there, yeah, the lower part of the crown. And in between, you're going to have also some spaces. It depends how dense the crown is. Some crowns are really open, you can see through them. Some are much more dense. And also the trunk of the tree. As the light is coming, let's say less or more 45 degrees, so you're going to have certain parts of the trunk darker, yeah, especially on these parts when it's less penetrated by the air, yeah, and the same the branches, darker, lighter, darker over there. And as you go with the branches, you can have kind of, you see, this kind of situation there. Of course, the branches which you find directly under the crown, yeah, of the tree, let's say you're going to kind of push a little bit the line over there, because normally what's going to happen, yeah, you have a little bit here and so on. It's depending on what kind of leaves you want to imitate, what kind of form. So everything is light and shadow, yeah. So after, of course, the branches over here and there, if you have any, you would kind of go and do it, yeah. This kind of, imitate a little bit, give impression of the realistic kind of shapes of the crown and so whatever, yeah, of the tree and the foliage here and so on, yeah. So that's something you can actually, gently do it, even here and there, and put some kind of little bit here and there, you know, darker or lighter spots, and you have some kind of grass there, you can have some kind of stones, whatever. Yeah, you can kind of create kind of, you know, sloppy stuff. You have some other vegetation there. So you see, even if I do grass, yeah, or kind of weeds here and so on, the principle is that you always operate with light. And if you look at this grass over there, so you cannot draw just grass like this, yeah. Okay, that's no grass, yeah. And that is also, for example, this is also not the grass, yeah. If you do just repetitively, repeat it kind of all the time, this kind of forms imitating the grass, that's not grass, yeah. Which you can have this kind of forms, but the kind of places where there's a lot of grass, less of grass, you can have these places, but they also going to have kind of, you know, forms. They're going to go this way and this way. And if you want to kind of dimensionalize these forms, yeah, you might have another somewhere there, but they're going to kind of have certain things going to repeat, you know, in the grass here and there, yeah. But but they're going to be a little bit, each going to be a little bit different. Why? Because on the base somewhere or through them, if you look at this grassy parts, you're going to have some parts really dark, yeah, over there, okay, and some others a little bit less. So some going to be much more in light, rather others going to be much more in you know, kind of in dark, yeah. So next time I'm going to kind of show you this. I'm going to kind of go a little bit with the other vegetation, kind of like flowers, gardens, and so on. But for now, it's just the basic principles of doing kind of grassy surface, for example. Yeah, let's say you have some kind of grass, so you can a very short grass. So you do this kind of situations a little bit much more shorter. Yeah, much more shorter. If this kind of short, small ones. So just go. You can have some stones somewhere here and there. At the back, you can have some other kind of branches, yeah. Let's say over there. So you can kind of just, you know, as you do the branches on the back, you also kind of imitate a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Don't push it too much black. You can leave it a little bit lighter, yeah. If you want to dimensionalize this, if you want, you can. What you can do, you can kind of a little bit just go with the upper parts or something a little bit. So it's going to be much more in depth, and of course emphasize a little bit this part over here. And as you're going to make them a little bit stronger, this one's all together, everything, let's say kind of shadow projected on the ground by the crown, okay, over there. So if you have kind of, you know, slope there, to just differentiate the slope from, of course, the entire, you know, the further background. You might have some kind of mountains there, whatever. You might have some cypresses, you know, some of there. So just kind of show that there is some kind of trees, whatever. You can create kind of beautiful landscape. And over here also, you can kind of, you know, time to time push it a little bit something there and there. And if the light is going like this, so we're going to have a little bit kind of shadow also spreading on this kind of foliage there. Yeah. So in general, it just operate with contrast, yeah, contrast, light contrast, exactly as you would find in the Mediterranean areas or in California, you know, coast and so on. Yeah, so we're going to have this kind of trees. Yeah, so any kind of vegetation, you have to kind of dimensionalize this with the core shadow and core light, core shadow, core light. Yeah, so always kind of the contrast of this, okay, elements going to give you kind of much more realistic approach to doing these trees much more realistically. So let now just simply try to analyze a little bit this tree, how it goes. Yeah. So we're going to forget the people over there, just the tree. So for example, I have a trunk. Yeah. So I just go and kind of do the trunk less or more kind of straight there, straight there. So just pre-sketch briefly everything first. And now I will try to kind of briefly imitate the entire crown of this tree. Yeah, so let me just kind of make it smaller a little bit. Yeah, this drawing of mine over there, so it kind of going to fit in this page. And now, let's say it's somewhere to the ground. Yeah, I don't going to show the bank. I'm just going to show the bank, the base of the trunk. So let's say it's somewhere there. Yeah, is the end of it. Yeah, oh, a little bit better maybe. Kind of there, okay, over there, a little bit kind of curve, so it's kind of much more natural, yeah. And or I can actually do this a little bit differently. For example, this is okay. Yeah, okay. Just adjust after a little bit. This part goes like this. Yeah, like this, like this, like this. Okay. Well, that's enough. So again, a little bit smaller. Yeah, and we go with the rest. So, well, I would kind of look, the lower part is something like this. So you will kind of try to imitate a little bit the form for now very gently, because we're kind of trying to get less or more the form, yeah? Okay. If you want to, of course, do this perfectly, you have to spend and study this tree much more longer. But I'm gonna just kind of briefly show you how to kind of do any kind of tree. You can do the same way as I was explaining previously. Yeah. So just kind of search for the crown approximate lines, contours. Yeah. And as you're going to kind of work much more on it, you can kind of go and develop this much more better. So this is approximately 1, 2 trunks and half. So the proportions are approximately one trunk is here, another there, somewhere over there. So I'm going to just again shrink it a little bit, yeah, over there. And so it's going to be one trunk, two trunks, and somewhere there, yeah, I would have this kind of, this kind of front, one branch is going out and so on, kind of, similar. A little bit here, the branch is going to go one there, yeah, another going to be over here and so on, yeah. So as I'm saying, I'm not trying to kind of, because it's going to take us a lot of time to do the perfect shapes, but just approximately give you impression of some kind of tree here and there, yeah. So of course here the crown is a little bit much more kind of larger, yeah, over there, over there. Well, less or more is something around those lines, yeah, less or more. So now what do we have? This tree, the crown is kind of dense, quite dense. They have some kind of light, is passing by the foliage. Yeah. So now I would kind of try to get a little bit much more impression of this tree. So look, I would go there and try to kind of add a little bit kind of leaves looking form. Yeah. Also here I would go a little bit kind of, and I would go with this little bit inside and outside. Yeah, to just create a little bit, give the impression that this is approximately some kind of leaves there, yeah, and I have some kind of branches, and that's kind of going the leaves down there a little bit. I don't do it everywhere. I'm just choosing kind of certain branches, yeah, and under, when you're going to be under the branch, you can push it a little bit, the darkness of the light. On the top, you just leave it lighter. And again here, yeah, you can push it, you can push it, you can push it, yeah. And again, as you go to the top, you can kind of soften a little bit, yeah, the entire process. So now I would like to cut the first part from it. So for example, this is going to be approximately something like this, yeah. And I have something in light over there. So I just kind of try to get this branches less or more like this and more like this. So first kind of brief lines approximately, and you have another branch coming somewhere from here. You're going to have some kind of leaves here and there, and so on and so on and so on, some kind of branches here. And you have another few, those are going to be much more in shadow, because you see the light is coming, actually hitting the trees kind of like from, actually it is kind of from the top, yeah, because it's midday, so it's kind of really from the top. So the tree is very irregular. It is why you have dark here and dark over there, yeah. So I will try to kind of less or more reproduce approximately the same thing. So I kind of go there, and here the branch is going to be kind of larger here and so on. So just go kind of and kind of try to less or more imitate less or more kind of the form of these branches coming in the tree and so on, yeah. And you have a little bit darker over here, you see. So I will kind of push it a little bit more here. And this kind of branches, they are much more in dark, yeah, over there, yeah. You see one, and you're going to see kind of another somewhere there, yeah, also in dark and so on, yeah. So we're going to kind of push it there. I'm going to put a few leaves kind of looking branches here, yeah, and can add some kind of leaves here and there as well, yeah, over there, to just get this kind of source of this shades here. And also this is going to be in shadow, yeah. Somewhere there I have another branches over there, something coming, and I have another branch over there, something coming, yeah. So just kind of go, and you have to work with all kind of directions, because the tree has the branches all around, isn't it? So you have to give the impression of it. Yeah, so you have kind of, here you're going to have some kind of, you see, you treat it very gently. From one side, you can actually push it a little bit, yeah, certain elements, but the other, you can kind of keep it, kind of try to imitate everything is about imitation of the branches and so on. Because as I said, you can do perfect studies of it, yeah, but the perfect studies, it's not the work for 1 hour or half an hour or a few minutes, it's hours, yeah. You really don't count the time, you just go there and you just kind of study the tree, okay, and you go it step by step. So now look, all these parts we see that is completely in shadow, yeah, so we can actually right away put it shadow there. This is a little bit in light, this branch, and but under this part you have everything in shadow, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, this I put a little bit too much here. Here is kind of going the branch a little bit closer over there, yeah. So you have a little bit some kind of shadow there. You have something over there, yeah, coming a little bit in shadow. You have another branch appearing over there. So you kind of this kind of shading, yeah, on the lower part. You see, you can completely go there. You can do it much more realistically, but that's what would take us, as I said, too much time. So I just kind of try to, briefly kind of just get this kind of branches, the trees and everything. You just kind of do this kind of, you see, situation. When you draw that, you think about leaf, yeah? So whatever you draw, you're going to kind of try to kind of get the leaves parts less or more, kind of looking as they would be leaves, yeah? And after you're going to have certain parts in dark, yeah? Certain darker, certain lighter, yeah? And that's how you're going to have kind of create this kind of density of which would kind of give you the impression of branches of the leaves and so on, yeah. So you cannot go and between the leaves, in even sometimes even one leaf darker under and so on. So this kind of surface you will work here on this tree, yeah. So let me just save this and we continue. So for example, and I will go here and now I have some kind of branches, so it's much more lighter here, yeah, and I have some kind of elements here, so I kind of try to imitate the branches a little bit here and there. Sometimes I do the lights too strong, but anyway. So, and you have afterward the shades. Look, if you look, you kind of try to shape it, kind of scope with the shade, okay, the kind of main branches. Here, this kind of stuff, let's say, has a little connection there, and this kind of little bit going inside here and so on, yeah. So just kind of go and create first the shady areas, yeah, kind of shady areas, you see, of the branches and everything, yeah. So that's going to give you the, as you can see, the kind of flat surface becomes more and more dimensional as I am working on it. Yes, as I am working on it to create kind of dimensionality of this. Sorry, of this entire forms. Yeah. So just kind of I try to kind of imitate. I am, as I said, I'm not going to go to the exact forms of the trees because it's going to take us plenty of time, but that's some study really everyone who wants to paint and draw landscape, especially in architecture or something, this kind of exercises, even if you want to kind of really go in depth with the form and so on, as they're going to give you much more idea after how to simplify these trees forms and everything. Once you understand the basic idea that if you do very kind of just brief trees here and there, yeah, something like this, kind of a very simple crown of the tree, especially when you have buildings around, yeah. For example, you have some kind of let's say you have some kind of building architecture, you do some kind of view, architectural view, some kind of buildings go this way and this way. Let's say you kind of in New York downtown, whatever, and you have this kind of kind of high sky reaching buildings and so on and so on, and there's many kind of other buildings and so on, but you have trees between. So you can have it kind of, you see, the principle of doing this trees, you can actually make it some kind of tree is that under this, the crown, the branches are very dark. After it might have even white base, but what is essential here is that you have what? You have the crown kind of, you see, and even if you have kind of much more larger the tree, for example, this kind of tree, for example, so you understand that this is all the lower part of the crown is in dark, yeah. So you just go and try to, and the top you just add a little bit here and there, and that's you're going to have the tree. You can have other branches, so on, much more wider branches and so on. And you do the trees. You might have another form of the tree, yeah, over there. And what you're going to do? Well, the same. You're going to kind of get, this kind of, forms there. If you have some kind of much more frail branches here and there, so we're going to do what? We're going to kind of imitate this kind of, you see, crowns of the trees where it's kind of open. Yeah, you have kind of leaves here and there, and the trunks are kind of visible, everything, and you have just little tree here and there. So all kind of the foliage is not really creating closed crown, but kind of open crown of the trees. So all this you do actually approximately this way. Once you understand this idea, you have to kind of create a little bit, the dimensionality of the crown and so on, yeah, then you can actually do any kind of very brief, actually even very, and if you draw this kind of forms with aquarelle pencil, you can go after and just kind of, you see, look, wash it a little bit, yeah, certain parts, and you can get actually very good, very good effects of the trees, whatever, over there, over this part over there, yeah, and even the buildings and so on. So there's a lot of things you can discover by knowing how to operate with light and shadow. So let's get back to our tree to just kind of do a little bit faster this. So all this part, of course, I have what? Shadow there, yeah? So I have kind of shadow on the trunk, yeah? And let's go after there. So look, all these parts of the branches over there, I have also in shadow, yeah? So just kind of try to kind of, put them a little bit, you see, all these windows, all these kind of holes in the branches, yeah, in the entire crown, you just kind of try to, put it there briefly, as a shaded areas, yeah. So all here is going to be kind of, you see, shaded and so on, yeah. So you just kind of go and make the shades here and there, yeah. I'm doing this very fast, but you can make it this, if you spend a time on it, you can do such beautiful tree, and just need to have certain order. Don't rush, you have to kind of spend some time and meditating and kind of looking and thinking about what you do, this kind of culture of drawing, yeah. So culture of drawing, what it means that you actually, whatever you draw, first think what you're going to draw and how you're going to draw this, yeah. That's the kind of, not doing something, spontaneously without any kind of thinking, which is actually almost certain way artistic, approach to be much more spontaneous about things. But it depends what is your profile. But if your profile is commercial artist, you will actually analyze form, not kind of trying to get this form, and much more, intuitively, but rather much more analytically. So you will actually think what you're doing and how everything work. So after, you see, even in the shadow, after the branches over there, if you kind of want to kind of give them a little bit kind of much more dimensional. So we're going to also in the shadow, we're going to do certain things, certain elements in the shadow going to be darker, lighter. You imitating kind of the foliage of this tree, yes? So that's what you have to do, otherwise it's going to be flat, yeah, and that's going to be interesting really, and further, much more further from representing kind of reality. So here you will spend a little bit much more time, you can do kind of much more nicer the leaves over there, kind of imitate the branches going, certain leaves, darker, lighter, yeah, everything. But anyway, that's kind of course, I don't have too much, so much time, but at home, if you want to practice, you can actually take any picture, yeah, from the internet, whatever. There's plenty of beautiful trees, and this is mine trees. I took the pictures from park, but because I'm doing the video, so I don't want to use other people's pictures without asking permissions. So, but you just for practice at home, you can actually do it. If you don't publish anything, it's fine. You can use those kind of references without any problem. Only when you want to publish, you have to ask the artist or the photographer or somebody, to allow you to, use the pictures. So anyway, so, you go and you just kind of try to get through this entire tree in there, yeah, okay. just work with the light and shadow. And of course, as you're gonna you want to be much more precise, you will kind of have to spend a little bit much more time on doing these trees, you know, here and there better, or you know, something like this. Here you have a little bit the leaves a little bit larger, so you can kind of even, you know, when you have kind of larger foliage. And another problem of mine is the digital brush, where I will have to too many times I would have to change opacity and the thickness of it. So I don't want to do it. I just going to kind of make it, you know, less. And I'm going to try to get this done without this kind of, you know, technicalities of the digital brush, because all these details there, all the small nuances here, you know, of light, yeah, because you translate it, everything looks to you like green, yeah, over there, but it's not really. It's all kind of different tonalities of green. When you draw black and white in one monochrome drawing, you have to translate this information of many colors into one, yeah, and different grades. So that's what's going to happen here, for example, yeah, with the leaves and so on, yeah, everything there. So all this kind of details, you can have beautiful the forms and everything, but you would have to spend a little bit much more time on it. So all these parts kind of going to be kind of having a little bit kind of like leaves parts, yeah. And if I want to do this nicer, I would have to change the thickness of the brush, but let's just, for now, I'm going to leave it as it is. So you see here, a little bit darker everything, yeah. So as you go there, you will have to kind of, you know, try to get this leaves kind of impression of the kind of foliage there, yeah. And the impression of the foliage over here going to be only with the kind of adding much more contrast, much more black to it, yeah. This point of the branches you see here, they're very dark, yeah, and they have kind of entrance to the foliage over here and there. You have some kind of foliage there, yeah, and of the, yeah, so you have kind of forms of the foliage. All these shapes of small leaves I could do only when I kind of will apply the digital brush a little bit thinner line. It's going to be, because now as I am pushing, it's getting kind of too you know, fuzzy. But anyway, I will try to get somehow along with it to just kind of, you know, imitate a little bit the entire, you know, trees less or more. Okay, so as you go, you see all these branches there, everything is in dark. So we just kind of, after this, kind of try to get some kind of, you know, kind of leaves kind of form. And also here you have this part is a little bit kind of much more in shadow, and so another part is going after here and there, yeah. This is the lower crown, yeah. So here is a lot of shadow happening, yeah. So all these parts over there, say much more kind of, you know, you have to spend a little bit much more time to work on them, because this is the lower kind of part of the crown of the tree. And here you're going to have all kind of nuances in the darkness, yeah. Over there you're going to have the kind of passages of the branches here and there, yeah, like this. And you're going to have another over there, yeah. So just kind of, you know, lot of little bit kind of pointy details and so on. You have to just get this done approximately, yeah. And so let's just go. This entire part over there is going to be also slightly a little bit more in shadow, because the light is coming from the left, yeah. So it's going to be kind of gently, this kind of part of the tree going to have kind of gently a little bit darker part over there. And now within this, of course, you're going to work now the branches a bit darker here, coming from this kind of branch, plenty of leaves, yeah. It's going to be kind of much more contrasted area, another much more contrasted area, yeah. You have some kind of branches coming there, yeah. And over there is going to be kind of much more freely, yeah. It's kind of, you can allow yourself to just kind of put some kind of points looking like leaves or something, yeah, over there. And you have another under, for example, yeah. So as I know, as you know already, I told you I'm not really trying to do the same tree, because it would take us too much time. But believe me, it's possible if you just kind of really focus on it and you draw all these forms and everything perfectly. You will have kind of beautiful branches, and exactly you can draw exactly the same tree. I am just imitating approximately, you know, the sense of the tree, yeah. So certain kind of branches here and there, just kind of imitate them, yeah, just kind of give the dimensionality. So after I have a little bit something, you see much deeper here. So just kind of go there. They're not exactly perfectly the same places, but kind of close to, you know, the form less or more. If I would spend on this kind of like 45 minutes or so, I could get a little bit much more closer to it. But of course, we don't going to keep it you as long as this, because the principle of this video is create the dimensionality of the trees, for example. Next video, I'm going to do much more about different vegetations and so on. Yeah, so it's going to be similar process, but plants or flowers, kind of a little bit different here and there. Yeah, but the process, of course, is going to be the same. You're going to kind of go and try to build kind of shape, you know, this kind of branches here and there, you know, by the shade and light, and everything is light. The reason you see all the foliage there, the leaves kind of looking things and so on, is only one, because you operating is the light. Actually, the reason we see is that you know, actually our eye is cupped, you know, is catching the light, and the light, it shades everything what we see through our eyes. So everything is about seeing this light and shadow parts in order to get this kind of, you see, you know, forms of the trees, yeah, and the branches over there and so on, yeah. So I am, as I mentioned, I just don't going to spend too much time on this one because it's kind of basic, you know, approach. But you can actually get this as you're going to draw home, watching this video or whatever. You can actually make it, you know, much more exact what I am doing here, yeah, much more better even, and so on. If you spend a little bit much more time, so on, you're going to do this tree actually perfectly, yeah. So you see all this part also here is kind of, let me just kind of approximately here, I have kind of much more dark summer there, yeah. So you just kind of can push a little bit certain things, yeah. So you see it's going to be much more every time. Just have to do it, not everything the same, but kind of swim between those kind of, you see, contrasted parts and less contrasted parts and so on and so on, yeah, a bit here and there. So as you work with the kind of darkness and light, yeah, you can shape it much more kind of nicer effects of this entire, you know, tree here, yeah. So here, of course, you, as you go further with this, you can after go come back here and make it much more contrasted, yet even this parts, the lower ones, because as you can see on the picture, they're completely black, yeah. But you don't do everything right away. You just go step by step, yeah. So first you go here and there, and after you shape it, you can shape it even better, the branches and all these kind of details, much more, you know, in depth, once you have the kind of first brief, you know, passage by, yeah, in shaping the branches and everything. So the trunk also, you can actually go there and make the trunk a little bit much more. Of course, the first part of the trunk here is all black because it's picture. But if you want to kind of do it as a drawing and make it much more nicer, so you kind of go, keep it rather one side a little bit kind of darker, yeah, and the other I would kind of go a little bit here, and I would kind of go through this inside of this kind of trunk, a little bit some kind of core shadow there. So I will have kind of dimensionality there, yeah, indicated. And furthermore, there's kind of grass there, so it's not very big grass, it's short grass. So I don't going to exaggerate with the kind of long grassy parts and so on, but I make myself a little bit few lines here and there, yeah, few lines here and there, okay, and you go, and just kind of disperses and so on, so on. And what we have kind of shadow of this crown projected on the ground. So as you do this kind of shading of this kind of stuff, you also work very irregularly, you see? Yeah, because there's branches and the light is coming, so not everything is dark there. Yeah, you're gonna have certain parts of on the ground over there. Yeah, it's going to be kind of shadow, but the shadow is very irregular because you have branches coming here and there. So it's everything is kind of spread it there. And now, as you did this, of course, you're going to emphasize now a little bit the contrast of it there, yeah. So let's say, for example, you have some kind of grass there, yeah, or something, you will kind of push it, yeah. So in within this shadow, you want to also show that there is some kind of grassy surface, and I don't want to kind of make the size of the brush a little bit thinner, um, but normally I would do it if I would like to imitate this in the within the black. But this digital is this, it's annoying part in the digital art, that you have to always modulate modify the thickness of the brush, the intensity, the opacity, all this stuff you do much better with the simple pencil, and everything is there, and you do it very briefly, very fast. So all this kind of details, branches, kind of leaves, divisions here, if I want to kind of make it a little bit much more looking as a leaf stuff, so I kind of go with much more detailed brush and make it this kind of leaves looking much more kind of closer. Yeah, but for now it's not my objective here. So for example, I will just kind of go and just kind of briefly create the kind of darker shapes, and still work, shape it, sculpt. I want to sculpt this crown. So this picture of mine is always is just reference to keep me informed that what I see. Yeah. So as you draw from the pictures, some people say it's not good to draw from the pictures and so on. No, it's not true. And pictures, you have to look at the picture as you would be there. So when I draw from the picture, I imagine myself actually to see it exactly as I would be in the park in this case, yeah. And I would kind of try to, you know, give impression of this tree, when I am there. So it depends how you draw from the picture, because if you draw in the picture exactly what is there, well, that's you draw just the picture. But normally in city, when you sketch anything, architecture, plants, cars, people, you have to, if you would like to do it perfectly all the time, nobody gonna pause for you a few hours before you do it. Yeah, if you, especially when you travel, you want to capture briefly everything what you see. You're in the park, beautiful park or something, so you have to learn how to skip certain things in order to get the kind of nature, beauty of the nature, kind of fast, and give the impression of it kind of less and more realistic one. Yeah, so this kind of stuff you see will kind of go and kind of just simply, you have to learn this how to do that. Yeah. So because if you have to spend every time hours and hours, well, forget it. We wouldn't have many drawings. So that's why artists learn how to, you know and how to really give impression of this kind of beauty you are in, or you observing, like in Paris, buildings, Venice, all kind of thing, even Montreal and so on. Whenever you go, you know you have always something nice and beautiful which we would like to capture, but you want to be too realistic, too exact. That's not going to happen. You have to always think, and this is kind of discouraging many times, yeah, for many of artists. So, well, I would like to draw, but it's going to take me hours and hours. Not necessarily. If you just kind of know what you're doing, and know the process and everything, you can actually do it within reasonable time limit. Yeah. And as you start, you might spend a lot of time before you kind of get and understand the process and so on. But as you get through it, yeah, and kind of understand much better how it works and what you have to do, you would kind of be ready, after, to do it much more darker. So now I'm just kind of, in order to kind of complete this little bit brief kind of information about how to draw the trees, I would just kind of emphasize, now you see the darker parts of the shades, yeah, on the trees. So whatever I see here, you see I have some kind of connection here, yeah. So certain part of the branches or whatever are going to go a little bit kind of across there. You have another one a little bit darker here. You see, you emphasize a little bit the darkness. So now you shape it even much more, the dimensionality of the forms, yeah, with kind of, you see, contrasted areas a little bit more, yeah. Well, I would have to go a little bit some with the branches, a little bit here and there, but I don't want to go, actually I can make this drawing actually lower. Oops, something like that, yeah, over there, yeah. So let me just erase this part, this arrow there, yeah. So we can see the I'm sorry, the tree perfectly. So let's just go a little bit kind of some details here and there. So you don't have to cover everything, you know, just leave some white stuff really much more, you know, evident and visible. So, you know, just darker certain parts. If you push it a little bit dark in some parts of the lower parts of the branches, yeah, over there. So as you can see, you can get in even much more dimensionality. Yes. Okay. So, you know, if you go like this, like this, like this, you know, and adding a little bit here and there, more you go, more you work on it, you might have it a little bit much more, you know, better impression of this entire form as it is. It is a tree, or is it, you know, how it looks, less or more, and so on. Yeah. So when you do this, and let's say you did a little bit too much or something, yeah, certain parts you put a little bit maybe too much dark or something. So as in previous videos, when I was drawing something, you might actually get the eraser as well, yeah, and the cleaner gum is the best, as I think I mentioned this already. So the cleaner gum, you will kind of shape it, you know, to modulate this kind of, you know, give the form you like it. And after with the gum, you can actually take it off certain parts there in the drawing itself. Yeah. So it kind of, you know, you can kind of still work in certain details. Yeah. Over there with the kind of gum was taking off the parts and so on. Yes. So that would be kind of, you know, and even add some kind of, you see, if you need some kind of little bit highlight something here, or maybe in the grass, show a little bit much more the grass over there. So you can kind of, with the eraser, you can still do kind of a little bit work here on the shadow, which you projected and so on, to get this kind of much more uneven, and get another kind of, you see, a little bit kind of lighter, you know, uh, impression of the grass and something, you know, happening there. So let me just kind of get back to my brush over here. Yeah. So you see, this is approximately something. Of course, there's still work to do this here. Yeah. If the branches, if you want to kind of closer, I would have to go to the branches and kind of, you see, put it a little bit kind of the branch as it is there. Yeah. A little bit over here as well. Yeah. Something like this on the lower parts and so on. Yeah. But even in this kind of situation here. Yeah. And I want to try to do it a little bit faster. I'm gonna make a little bit bigger the brush, and I will go now. So certain things there, oops, sorry, it's too small. Certain things here, I would kind of, you know, smooth it, yeah, a little bit, yeah, put it a little bit, kind of smooth it, and darker parts in there, yeah, a little bit. Oh, after this kind of dark over there, so I kind of, you know, push a little bit much more the darkness here and there, yeah, in certain areas over there, over there, over there, yeah, a little bit darker here and there, a little bit here and there, yeah. So you have kind of dimensionality of some kind of a dimensionality of the tree. And of course, over here, you can push it also a little bit much more the shade over there and so on, yeah. Okay, so even if you did the white over there, but still, so you have something like this also on this trees also, if you kind of push it. But it's not only that, because now, for example, if let me just maybe first save this. Okay, and I'm gonna copy the drawing over there. Yeah. So one, oops, sorry, one I'm going to take away. Let me see, which one is it? Okay, I have two of them. Good. So now this part is one. I'm going to copy one and close this. Okay. So now we can take, for example, brush or the kind of, you know, paper stack. Yeah, the paper stack with which you can kind of, as I showed in the first video in the start, you can do it actually kind of, you know, look, you can kind of, you see, put a little bit of water in there, or just smudge it, yeah, and you can kind of disperse, give much more better impression of the, you know, dimensionality of kind of the trees, the branches, and so on. Yeah, so just kind of soften a little bit this stuff, and after you can come back with the dark blush and so on. You can even add some elements more to it. Yeah, so just kind of go and there, you know, and give kind of impression, you know, that that's approximately, yeah, less or more what you had done there. Yeah, you can kind of fade this, smudge a little bit here and there. You can do it with paper, normal paper. You don't have to have even brush or water. Yeah, you can do it with kind of, you know, paper there. Yeah, and also the same as the base. Yeah, you can kind of smudge it, make it much more even or something. Yeah, or maybe even much more irregular. You see, you can kind of play with the lower part of it. Yeah, over there, and at the end you can come back to the brush, for example, and you can make it, you know, working for you. You know, you can add some kind of, you see, a little bit kind of grassy part over there, yeah, and you can add a little bit elements over here as well, yeah, over there, some kind of, you know, edit some kind of, and maybe some kind of, you know, as the leaves, kind of vegetation over there. So some leaves gonna be a little bit darker, yeah, a little bit after, a little bit lighter, and so on. So we're gonna have kind of, you know, all kind of the vegetations here and there. You can the best is to versify. And so when you do kind of grassy stuff, whatever, you know, stuff like this on the trees or somewhere else over there, diversify a little bit the forms. Don't do everything like this, kind of, yeah, or like this, all the stuff. No, just diversify a little bit here and there, yeah. So my brush is still too thin a little bit, yeah, like this. So over there, if you go kind of, you see, kind of kind of try to imitate a little bit the kind of interested kind of forms on the ground, either with the grass or something, or some kind of stones or whatever, yeah. And you can have it some kind of, you know, um, uh, uh, let's say leaves here a little bit longer, a little bit larger, maybe a little bit larger leaves, yeah, on the surface, a little bit larger here and there. Again, working also shadow light, in order to get those kind of, you know, vegetation here and there, yeah. At the end, what you can still do here, if, for example, if this would be, for example, if I would, we're going to draw on the craft paper, but for example, I will just show you one thing here. If you would kind of put here craft paper, for example, as a background, just a second, I'm just going to find, where's my color? Palette there. I'm going to add the craft paper, let's say, for example, something resemble to this one, for example. Yeah, and let's just put the color here, for example. Yeah, let me just kind of fill it up, yeah, completely. Just a second. Yeah, over there. And when we have this brush, okay. So let's just kind of fill it. Yeah. I can do it differently. Just a second. It's going to be faster. Like this, like that, and I'm going to put it like this. And for example, let's say I have background of craft paper there. Yeah, craft paper there. Okay. Let's say I did the first time with the darker pencil. Yeah, that's the background of my, you know, craft paper. And now with the white, for example, if I just go there as I was, yeah, and I take white color, for example, because normally on the craft paper you play with both two colors, yeah, over there. So you see, if I go now and I'm going to just kind of put it a little bit, where's the tree? Over there. So let's say another layer, and now I will kind of do the same thing, but now I kind of, you see, try to work with the light, yeah, and also here and there. So we kind of go a little bit the light over there, yeah, on the branches over there, a bit light, and the same process you would do with kind of, you know, strokes, you know, which kind of will give you the kind of the top highlights of the trees and the branches over there. So you kind of go with the leaves if you want over there and here and there, and then that is going to be somewhere there, somewhere there, somewhere there, somewhere there. If I go just briefly here and there, yeah. Okay, so it's going to kind of, you see, it's even dimensionalize this tree a little bit much more, you know, this entire, you know, form there. So I kind of go there, you know, small kind of reflections of white here and there, imitating also kind of, you know, the leaves here and there, yeah, over there, kind of, I do very fast, but normally if you spend a little bit much more time, do it nicely, yeah, it's going to have beautiful effects of really light and so on. Furthermore, you can also do like this, that you can put some kind of, for example, sky or clouds behind it, yeah, so you can have it, what, you can actually put some kind of lighter part and get this tree kind of out, yeah, out there with kind of, you see, a little bit lighter background there, yeah, so you can kind of see as you do this, you leave a little bit the paper around and so on, much more precisely, of course, than I do here, but this kind of situation there would kind of give you, see, light, yeah, the kind of light, and you can have kind of clouds over there, as we did in the Venice and so on, yeah, you can create kind of cloudy situation here and there, and also some kind of going to come from other parts over there. So as you highlight, you get a little bit much more even contrast here. That's kind of applying a little bit kind of light behind the tree, yeah, what is going to happen. And also we can get, let's say there's going to be some kind of horizon there, and the light is going to be kind of, you know, coming there softly to the background, and it's going to kind of go kind of softly disperse here, yeah, over there. So you can have this kind of, you see, situation there with kind of clouds, whatever, going to be there, yeah, and just kind of add a little bit white here and there and so on, and you're going to kind of create beautiful, you know, situations and effects there. So if you take this, for example, if I make the brush normal as it was before, let's more like this, yeah, so you can go and still work on this, of course, of the leaves over there, and kind of much more. I'm sorry, this is too brief, I want to do it too fast. This, okay, so, oh, sorry, that's okay, this is okay. So you just kind of go and a little bit kind of emphasis light here and there and so on. And this in the grass over there, yeah, as well, yeah. You can have certain kind of stroke of the grass white. So especially when you work with the craft paper, it gives you plenty of possibilities to kind of create the surfaces very interesting, yeah. Some kind of highlights here and there, you know, on the ground over here, over there, yeah, and also on the surface even, yeah, over there, something, you know, a bit here and there. So as you work with this kind of chromatic approach, and you know, any color paper is not have to be only craft, but the good thing about craft is that it's actually very kind of like white paper. It can accept any kind of colors on its surface and still look great. Color papers, not everyone can, is depend on what kind of colors you can. It's not really kind of very universal one, yeah. So the craft paper accept anything. You can have very dark red, very light red, for example, and the same as oranges, all kind of gray. Everything going to look beautifully there. So if we just now to just complete this, I'm just going to put again black color, for example. No, not black. I think I used this one. Yeah. So now the last stuff is still some kind of little bit contrast in there. Yeah. And let me see, my brush is a little bit too thick like that. Yeah. So if I go there, I can still kind of have some kind of, you see, a little bit kind of darker leaves. This is too dim. That's the annoying part about digital art, that you actually feel like technician, digital technician, not the artist much. So anyway, but it's great, of course, technology. I'm not complaining on it. It's just saying that sometimes, most of the time, actually, not sometimes, but most of the time, the original tools you draw with, much more, you can draw much more faster drawings than with the digital tools. So anyway, it's my personal opinion, so it's just that's what I prefer always, the, you know, much more realistic and much more kind of traditional traditional tools for drawing and painting that the digital ones. But that's my personal opinion about this. The only, because of the speed. The speed is much more stronger, faster you can go, and much more speedy with the pencil than the digital pen, because it's not always sensible enough. Even if I have very good equipment, it's still kind of vacuum. Sometimes it's not really picking perfectly what I would like to. Anyway, It's as I mentioned, is my personal opinion, and I have nothing against the technology. It's great, and I am very happy that it is, because it allowed us to do many things, you know, much more comfortably and normally. And what is the good about technology is that if you make a mistake, you can always eliminate one layer, and you fun, yeah, and you can continue. When you do with the real mediums, well, most of the time you have to start from the beginning. So you see, all this time you can still add and take it off, add, and kind of modulate, unless you kind of perfectly satisfied. So I would really kind of invite you to practice, take a pictures, go to the park, take any kind of vegetation, any kind of trees is great to practice this. You just have to observe this. You just have to learn to see what is it there and how you can get it perfectly well. Okay, but this gives the impression that that is probably the tree you were drawing. Yes. So anyway, that's it for today, and I wish you all to have fun in practicing this kind of sketches of trees, and we're going to have do some more next time of different kind. So thank you very much. Smile and draw, and see you next time. Bye bye.